Good. Okay, guys, welcome. This is the Wolf and Klein podcast, episode 10. Believe it or not, episode 10. We are extremely excited to interview today general manager of the Hamilton Mustangs and the owner of the Graceland Kings, Derek Sutton. Welcome, Derek.
Welcome, Derek. Welcome.
What's going on, boys? How's it going?
Awesome.
Good, man. Glad to see you. Nice to see what you look
Excellent.
like. I know we've seen pictures. It's great to see you, man. Good to get to
Excellent.
talk to you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. But I got to say one thing before we get started. The legal department at the Mustangs wanted me to read out a disclaimer here first.
Yeah.
The following podcast contains opinions of a fictitious digital hockey general manager, and they do not necessarily represent those of the hosts, Wolf and Klein Productions, or the Hamilton Mustangs ownership, or the WN95 AHL. They are meant for purely entertainment purposes only, and if you have any issues with them, take up your grievances with my unfrozen caveman lawyer. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
All right. Well, Derek Sutton, I guess we're going to call you Derek Sutton. I don't know what your real name is.
If you want to call me Derek, you can. My real name is Jason or Jay, so whatever you guys are comfortable with, it's all good, man.
I like Sutton. I'm going to go with Sutton.
Yeah, I've been referring to you as DS, so I might just call you DS.
Hey, Sutton is Swayze and Swayze is me. So
Yeah. So you listen to these podcasts, you know how we kind of get started. We kind of go down some questions to get to know you a little bit. So just to start out, Derek, when did you start playing video games?
So
What happened? Good freeze. Hold on, Derek. I think it froze.
Yeah.
games.
Hold on, Derek. Derek, start over. It was frozen there.
Oh, sorry. No
Yeah.
worries. So somewhere around 1983, I started playing in the arcades. My dad was actually a manager of a hotel, and there was an arcade in the hotel. So when he and my mom split, basically he was managing the hotel, and I was playing arcade games. So that's where I really got my start. But I was rocking out the NES in 85, 86, worked my way up to a Genesis in early 90s. And then, it's from there. It's funny though, because after the Genesis, life got in the way. I got too interested in chasing tail and going to the bars or whatever. And I never started gaming really again until, the late 2000s, mid 2010s. And when I got a PS2 and a PS4, and purely I got.
Yeah.
Hold on. It cut out again. I wonder if there's what do you think we should try?
Well, this is the strongest. Hold on. Let me just check.
I mean, my thing is full right there.
Try the other. What are you on?
I'm on FiOS.
2. Try the 5.
Now, will that shut off?
That's a good question.
This right here.
It might.
It looks like it's less.
All right, just stick with it.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't. It was just as you started that last part there. It just froze, and then it wasn't picking. We couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, basically after the Genesis, I started chasing tail and going to bars and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until, late 2000s, early 2010s that I bought myself a PS2 when I moved out, or I had moved out already at that point. But, I had bought them purely for the DVD player and eventually the PS4 for the Blu-ray player.
Okay.
And it was a secondary thing to it. And so it really honestly wasn't until about 2018 I got myself something called a Sumosis, which has like 10,000 games on it, that I really got back into, playing old school video games.
You didn't play like a PlayStation 1? You didn't really play any of the games on it?
No, not a PlayStation 1. I had buddies that had them. I mean, But PlayStation 1, I think, was late 90s, early 2000s. And
Derek, how old are you? Derek, how old are you?
So I was born in 77.
Oh, you're only 2 years older than me. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So when, when we hit up somewhere around 2002 and I'm 25 years old, video games was not my priority at that point.
Yep. No, I hear you. I definitely hear you.
Yeah.
So with that, is sports your genre? Is that what you obviously like, or is this it?
100. I mean, now at this stage of my life, 100% it is. I mean, I've always been a big Star Wars nerd from the data, from the time I was born until today. I mean, I'm big into like Star Wars games and that kind of stuff. But you guys know me, right? I mean, you guys know me well enough, even after a year or so, that I'm hardcore into sports, and especially the general manager aspect. And we'll talk about some of the games I know here in a little bit, but a lot of the games I would buy, and it's purely for the general manager aspect. It wasn't to play the games. It was purely to just sim the games, go into like 50 seasons deep and just play them out, right?
Did you ever have that Madden game where it was just called Head Coach?
Yes.
That one?
Yes.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. I got that too. It was totally different.
I don't know if it was a Madden game, but I know there was some game that was online. It was something like $25 American at the time, which was a big deal when I was like 20 something years old, to go online and buy this game. And it was pure simulation, right? And I play something similar nowadays called What If Sports. And Magnus knows all about this, just, there's some backstory there, but basically it's a pure simulation kind of aspect. And honestly, that whole general manager aspect, that was always what I fucking loved to play.
Yeah.
So as you're talking through playing some of these games, were you like a competitive person? Did you play against other people?
Ed, I can't tell you how many times I wanted to rage quit all the time, right? I am so fucking competitive. I mean, so my gaming area is in like a little side area in our bedroom.
Yeah.
And so the wife, fiance, she's downstairs watching her crime shows or doing whatever, and she'll just hear, and she'll be like, "What the fuck is going on up there?" And it's me, because it's just I am ultra competitive, and sometimes I need to take a step back and just be like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm playing a 27-year-old hockey game, like against a bunch of cool dudes. Like, why am I getting so angry at myself for this? But
you're not alone, man. You're not alone. I know there's probably more than 3/4 of the league feels the same way. They may not let on, but they definitely feel the same way.
So
we'll talk about you in a little bit, right?
and we'll come back. We're going to come back to the league for sure. That you mentioned being engaged. So you're not married, you're engaged.
Yes.
Any children?
So none of my own that I am aware of. But no, my fiance, she has 2 daughters. One is actually, so she's actually she's born in 79, so she is 43 years old. But she's got a 26-year-old daughter that lives in Australia. And a 20-year-old daughter that just graduated from college. So, you know what? It's I kind of stepped in at the right time. I didn't have to do any parenting skills, but you know what? They're great kids, and I'm a happy stepdog father as well.
That's awesome. Then she did a good job raising them, then, right? Obviously,
100%, man. She did an amazing job.
Hey, so have you ever been to Australia?
I have. I actually spent about 4 months there in the summer of, actually it would have been their summer, our winter of 2002.
Okay.
So real quick story, because I know it's not really part of the program.
No, man, go right ahead. It's about riffing, man. Go right ahead.
So in 2002, we were going to Australia, a bunch of idiot 25-year-old kids. So we fly in from Toronto to LA, and then we got a layover in LA, and we're sitting in the at LAX, and we're waiting for our flight to go, and we're kind of looking around. It's like, all right, there's some interesting folk in here. Okay, whatever, no biggie. And we got on the plane, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of interesting folk on here. And again, not a big deal. Was perfectly cool. Anyways, it's a 14-hour flight, so you end up talking to whoever.
Mhm.
And we find out that we're actually on the flight with the American contingent of the American Gay Olympiads.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because Sydney had hosted the 2000 Olympics, and so
Okay.
they were
Okay.
Gay Olympics in 2002, and we
Okay.
happened to be on the same flight as the American contingent.
Wow. And you had no, were you, how many other people do you think that were not a part of that contingent were on that flight?
Oh shit, man! 10%. Maybe.
Okay. So it was the majority of that flight.
Yeah, there was probably 200 some odd athletes.
Oh,
on
wow.
that flight.
Holy
Yeah.
shit. Wow.
So one other question, just about your personal life. What do you do for a living?
So I am in the wonderful, exciting, lame world of insurance.
Okay.
Gophers knows all about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we used to be State Farm Insurance, but then State Farm got bought out by Desjardins, some Canadian companies. So that's who I'm affiliated with now.
Nice.
All right. So
Yeah, no one cares about that shit, man.
no. If it comes up, we can get more into it. But so
Yeah.
obviously with your shitty internet, we know you're in Canada. So where in Canada are you?
So I am about 60 miles southwest of downtown Toronto.
Okay.
It's a place called Kitchener-Waterloo. And any of the Waterloo people will tell you, if you live in Waterloo, you live in Waterloo. If you live in Kitchener, you live in Kitchener-Waterloo.
Okay.
Because Kitchener, it's like Minneapolis, St. Paul, right? It's a city that's conjoined. And so like Kitchener has like this, like, little stepbrother inferiority complex with Waterloo. So there's a little bit of that going on, but that's where I'm at.
Okay.
And are you from?
And by the way, some of your favorite Flyers have played here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Including Mr. Cokehead Mike Richards.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. We did like him for a little while.
Yeah, he liked it for a little while. I knew that.
He lost his mind.
I'm doing my homework here, right?
Yeah, that's a good job. Good job.
Sorry, real quick. Are you from this area?
So, not. Long story short, I was born in a small town called Owen Sound. I lived in Georgia. I lived in Ohio. I've lived.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I went to school in Toronto. I mean, but then for the last like 20 something years, I've been in this KW area.
So let me ask you a question. So every Canadian guy we've had on references of their location off of Toronto. So where do you have to be in Canada to not reference your location off of Toronto?
Basically anyone outside of Ontario. I mean, part of it is that we have to pander down to you Americans, right?
Thank you. We appreciate that.
we have to explain it in American terms, right? I mean, I probably could have said I'm about 70 miles southwest of Buffalo, and that may have been a bit better.
Okay.
But I mean, most of us that live in Ontario, I mean, 90% of the Canadian population lives within 100 miles of the Canada-US border, right? So, I mean, for anyone who lives in Ontario, I mean, I could have told you I lived 60 miles northeast of London, Ontario, but you wouldn't know where the fuck.
No, I get it.
So, I mean, there's certain pinpoints, right? I mean, you can go with Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and you guys will recognize those places. But I mean, literally most of us live within a 3-hour drive of the US border.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except for some of those Thunder Bay and North Bay guys. They're way the
Yeah, they're up there.
Because you are referencing all these different towns, cities, who is your NHL team?
True Blue from the day I was born to the day I die. You know I'm bringing it. It is the Toronto motherfucking Maple Leafs, baby.
Okay. All right.
And you Flyer boys, I know you have had the same heartache as the rest of us. At least you got to a cup final and lost on a Patrick Kane goal, but good on you. You got there at least anyway.
Hey, we've lost we didn't just get to one. We've lost our last six.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
But okay, so let me ask you guys this. I mean, as a diehard Leafs fan, where we haven't won a goddamn fucking playoff series in 20 something years, is it better to have won a little bit to get so close and then lose?
For a little while, that's okay. Because in Philadelphia, if you win 1 or 2 years, we expect those to be steps.
Yeah.
So we're expecting a progression. So you're expecting a payoff in a 5-year window. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're building a team in 5 years, most professional sports, if you're going to have success, it's got to be in that 5 years.
Okay. And you know what? I want you guys to bookmark that point right there, talking about 5-year windows and winning in that time frame, because we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
Okay, that's good. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So I think Ed asked you the question about who did you play with? So 95 when it came out, were you playing against your friends? Or did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, dude. Okay. So backstory on like, you know, NHLPA, 94, 95, I mean, all that kind of stuff. It was like a fucking second holiday, right? I mean, I would literally, when the game came out, I mean, because I had paper routes and working around the house and doing all that kind of shit, right? When the game came out, I would go out and buy the game, and it was usually, you know, September, October, if memory serves me correctly.
Yep, you're right.
I would go out and buy the damn game, and my parents knew I wasn't going to school the next day. I stayed home and played the damn thing for like 24 hours straight, played a full season with the Maple Leafs or whatever team I was going to play with. And I mean, I would sit down, and every time a game came out, it was like a holiday for the next day, because I wouldn't go to school. I'd play the game, sit there for, you know, I'd have what I used to call Nintendo thumb, where just like be all calloused up and like just, you know, like, oh, it'd be awful. Oh. But I would sit there for hours upon hours and play that damn game. And that went from, you know, from the early, you know, the first one, the NHL, to the 93 PA, to 94, to 95, to 96. And by the time that hit around 96, that's when I went to university, and it kind of stopped being a thing at that point.
Okay. Yeah. Because I kind of went to 90. I graduated high school in 97, and then I went to community college around here. But when I was going to visit my friends at like Drexel, down the city college, LaSalle, we would literally sit in their places and just play 7-game series all night on the PlayStation 1 as we're just drinking and just playing games, playing.
And 100%. So I mean, my year of university, which I call my 8-month vacation, because I was not ready to go away to school, and I pissed away a good 12 grand. But anyways,
you're not the only one.
Every Thursday night, York University, I had one of like the bigger kind of double rooms, and my roommate had moved out by like the second month, which is fucking awesome. So I had like this double room to myself. But we were going hardcore, playing Genesis, and we were playing stuff like GoldenEye and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, like the NHL tournaments that we would play, and of course it was ridiculous, right? I mean, like super elaborate double elimination tournaments, round robins, all this kind of stuff. I mean, and then of course Swingers comes out in 97.
Yep. Huge.
And you know, and that hits, and it's just like, oh fuck, man, we got to play this fucking game again, right?
Yeah. So Derek, I ask this question each week, but when you were playing this game with some of your friends, did you notice you were better or had a skill set for 95?
You know what? Yeah, I mean, it shows you how shitty the people were that I was playing with, because you guys fucking kicked my ass. But I was because we would play auto goalie, right? I mean, we didn't know any fucking better, right?
Yep.
So we would play auto goalie, and again, my ultra competitiveness would kick in, and like I would say, out of all my buddies, like I was probably one of the better players. Mm-hmm. I mean, I may not have won all the time, but I mean, I was definitely ultra successful. Is the best way I can put it.
Did you play the way we would play? Winner stays on, and you just keep playing.
No, because most of the time we were playing tournament style, right?
Okay.
So I mean, basically, I would screw off from school at some time around 3:30 in the afternoon, hit up the booze store, get jacked up or loaded up for the night, and then what I would do is I'd sit there and create tournament sheets, and just like, okay, we're gonna set up a tournament. We got this many guys coming over. We got this much time before we gotta hit up the bar or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna play these games, and so yeah, we didn't really play the winner stays on. We just kind of played like, win and you go on.
Yeah, you were playing to have a champion at the end of each time, basically.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and the deal was, whoever the champion was, the rest of the dudes had to buy that dude a shot.
No, there you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
And so yeah, there was plenty of fucking drunken nights.
I'm sure. So let me ask you this. So I know, I don't know if Ed's actually looking at them when you see his name on there. I know I'm looking at them all the time. So how much time do you think you actually spend on the Google Sheets in a week? Be honest. Like I know just because you're in there, just because your name's in there doesn't mean you're actually looking at it.
Okay,
I know that.
okay, no, and that's, you know what, and that's a valid point, because there is active time and then there's just time, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, in the morning, I'll go into work, take care of the emails, do what I got to do. And as soon as I have that free moment, because I'll wake up in the morning and there'll be 50 messages in Discord. So I'll see what's going on. People are talking trades. They're doing this, they're doing that, right? And so I'll hit up the sheets. Now, the sheets will typically stay open on my computer throughout the day in just like kind of an open tab.
Yep.
But I would say in terms of active time that I'm on there in a week, I'd say 10, 12 hours of active time. Now, if we're going into like trade deadline, pre-draft, those kind of, it's probably closer to 20 hours.
Yeah, it's way. Yeah, I agree. I can easily spend 90 minutes on the just looking at them in the morning and checking them again in the afternoon.
Well, I mean, how many times have you and I talked about goddamn Eric Daze? And I mean, I've looked at the stats however many times, and the stats don't change. But every time we talk about it, I got to go back and look at them, right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Well,
You're right.
I think we all agree this Google Sheets is, last week, Patrick talked about this trophy they were playing for the Stanley Cup being called the Holy Grail. Well, this Google Sheet, in a lot of ways, is like the Holy Grail.
Oh, yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Honestly, like, I mean, the shit that you guys, or, that Magnus has done with a goddamn Excel spreadsheet,
Wow,
it's
it's amazing.
I mean, honestly, like, all this sort of stuff, the lookup stuff, the ratings, how much actual data is even in there. Like,
Sure.
if it was me, I'd just be in there like manually inputting all this information. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know
how
any
to do
different.
any of that shit.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It truly, I mean, what he has created is truly amazing.
I just want it's honestly entertainment for me. It's part of this because being a numbers guy, the stats guy, name guy, like I know who all these guys are because I'm such a hockey fan. So I like seeing what their ratings are. I like popping in and seeing what other people have going on their team. Sometimes I just scroll through the active roster screen and just keep refreshing to see who's on what team, because I never can remember who's on what team ever. So it's just like,
and honestly, I mean, in the situation that I'm in now, I mean, in such a fucking tough division with Helsing and Sonoma and Saguenay, like every time those guys play and I see like the morning score bot, I'm like, okay, where has this put me? What's the winning percentage? I got to go in there and check. And then it's like, okay, well, wait a second. I may be in fourth place, but I've got 6 games in hand on G-Lock, which, by the way, G-Lock, I took down 3 out of 4 games tonight, so I'm coming for you, motherfucker.
Good. I'm glad you got some games in tonight. So you're back. You're active.
Well, you know what? I have said I have exhausted my avenues in terms of trying to make trades for the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I'm not scoring Lindros, unlike some people. So I've got what I've got, and I've got to do it. I got to just stay in tier 3 for fuck's sakes, because if I'm a tier 4 guy, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, I agree.
So Patrick, Patrick.
Jesus, am I that forgettable, Ed? Come on.
Derek, so with the work in the Google Sheets, and obviously, all the skills that you bring with looking at teams and looking at players and evaluations, what is your approach to building your roster?
So, I got this question from you guys, and it was one of those things where it's like, you know what? There is no right way to do it. I think what each individual general manager needs to do is, what do I do? how can I accentuate that, but how can I complement that?
Mhm.
And the way I look at it is a tickle piss crock pot. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Don't be too bland. Throw it in there and see what comes out. I mean, the best thing I came up with was a quote from the movie Bloodsport.
Oh, we lost it.
Hold on. We'll get him.
Hold on. Can you see me? Hold on. All right. That sound cut out. I don't want to miss this quote. Hold on.
You back?
Can we hear you? Talk up.
Oh, sorry. Hey,
All right,
sorry.
say that
Yeah,
quote
just-
again. It
yeah.
froze. So say that quote again.
Yeah. No. So I thought about this quote from the movie Bloodsport, and Frank Dukes, Jean-Claude Van Damme, goes to his Shidoshi, and he pleads with him to train him. He says, "Don't limit yourself to one style. To keep an open mind."
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't think of a better way in terms of roster construction.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a one-timer guy at heart, but guess what? That shit gets closed down so quickly. So you need to keep an open mind as to, you know, you got to do wraparounds, you got to do snake charmers, you got to learn how to do, you know, penalty shots and breakaways and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, there's all these sort of functions to it. I mean, you need to know what you do well and try and accentuate that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to give yourself another avenue, you know, dump and chase and all the other things that these guys do.
Yes.
So when you talk about that, I'm hearing like playing style, not necessarily roster. So do you pick players?
Yes.
Trying to pick players that can do these.
Yeah. I mean, so going into this, I mean, and again, I just came in season 4. So, I mean, I was going through the expansion process, and don't get me wrong, I fucking bagged out in terms of the wheel and all this other, I mean, landing high draft picks and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, I definitely got lucky, you know, in terms of that respect. But knowing my game and how I wanted to construct a roster was I wanted to have that slot guy, the one-timer guy, high shot accuracy, high shot power. Left winger had to be a speed guy with high passing ability, someone who could take a check and, you know, kind of maneuver his way into the zone.
Mhm.
My right winger, for me, the right winger is somewhat of a dead zone type of position. The style that we play with penalties, I mean, your left defenseman gets a penalty, your right winger's off.
Yeah.
So, you know, some of the guys out there, and, you know, I'll name names, but I mean, Brantford, why do you have Sundin on right wing? He's going to play half the game. He's going to be in the box for half the game. It doesn't make sense to have one of your best players on right wing. So, you know, having a guy on right wing who's kind of more of a physical presence, who can hopefully create turnovers, that's kind of how I'm constructing those forward 3 spots. And but at the same time, you know, we've got, as we have penalties and we've got 6 forward spots to go, I also like to use one spot, and Nips did this perfectly. He drafted Dimitra, I think in year 1 or year 2. He stuck him on that 6th, you know, forward spot and let him sit there and marinate for 5 years. And honestly, because that 6th roster spot, that guy's never going to play.
No, you're right. He is never going to play. So with that, so on your team right now, your current roster, who do you consider your franchise player?
Well, I know who I'd like to be my franchise player. Whether he has actually stepped up to that point is another point.
Okay.
So I took Kovalev 3rd overall after the season 4 draft, and that's when Italy had disbanded and whatever else. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but Kovalev should be my franchise player, but he's not. In season 4, he had a 3-shot accuracy. So we all remember those Italy gifs and highlight where he missed in the net. He had 3-shot accuracy. That's why. This year, and I didn't think it would have as much of an influence on his play, but it does. he only has 3 offensive awareness.
Yeah.
And so like I started him for like the first 10 or 12 games at center, and like I'd be behind the net and the fucker's up by like the blue line.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell are you doing up there?
Yeah.
So I've had to like rework this, and now I've moved Amante into center and him onto left wing. And so Kovalev should be my franchise player, and I'll put it out there right now. If I do get dropped down to tier 4 next year, when Kovalev is like basically 5s and 6s across the board, that dude will put up 100 goals next year.
Oh yeah, you will. Though that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, I mean, so Amante was amazing for me last year. Dude put up 84 goals last year. Carter this year as a right shot guy, he's got speed, he's got physicality. He's been a beast for me. I've been very happy with him. But going through the expansion process, it's something that I've been thinking I got to plan for the next, not 1 year, 2 years, but next 3 to 4 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay. What's going on, man?
Oh, hey neighbor.
That's his son, actually. That's Ed's son, actually.
I'm from college.
Yeah.
But,
Go ahead.
so
That's the next
I
one.
did want to ask just another question about your roster, your franchise, your players. I noticed almost from day one, you seem to want to ship Barry Suter out of town. And
Yep.
I know that the guy I traded Suter to, sometimes did not, he did not like Suter.
Yep.
And interestingly, I loved Suter. Like Suter,
Yeah, you still traded it.
I traded him to get.
It's like a lot of guys that he's traded them all.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
But
We'll talk about Peter Bonder in a moment here. Okay?
I wonder though, what is it about Suter that makes him tradable in your eyes?
So it's not that I want to trade Suter, but he is the most tradable asset on my defensive core. And because he's only got, at this point, 3.5 years left, it's that delicate balance of what do I need today versus what do I need tomorrow. And I mean, my number 1 expansion draft pick was Jason Smith. And I knew that I wouldn't be able to use him until next year. So I knew that he was going to sit there and marinate for 2 seasons and really not play. And then this past draft, getting Kimmo Timonen, it's like, okay, I've got a speed guy, I got a passing guy, an offensive guy, and I got a stay-at-home defenseman. So Suter is now kind of that, that fat, right? That's on the belly of the pig. So he's one of those guys that I can still get something for
In
him.
return for, yeah.
I could still get a good return for him. I mean, I probably can't get Eiserman out of him.
No.
No.
Well,
but a defenseman who's rated in the 82 to 86 range for the next 4 years will have value to someone who is not in my situation, but someone who's chasing a championship.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I can totally squeeze a first round pick out of someone, and or if I can package him with an Amante, for example, I can really do what I want to do.
gotcha.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah. All right. So let's we're at like the 3-minute mark. So we're gonna stop it here. I'll resend you the same link and we'll start right back up again. You're doing awesome. All right.
All right, excellent, man.
All right.